Morning. I made notes. And I don't know if this is cheesy or not, but I figured if I'm going to wear this t-shirt for anything, then why not be a Trek America Tips video? Morning, chaps. If you haven't guessed from my t-shirt, then oh my god, Lauren, learn to speak. A bit of an introduction. Trek America, amazing. I love them. This is really, if you think this is sponsored when I have less than 500 subscribers on my channel, then you know I wish. But it is not. But they're a touring company that do trips across the US, Canada, South and Central America. So you look at the brochure and you're like, dude, I want to see the East Coast. You look at their East Coast trips and you have someone that go from New York and it goes through Nashville and everywhere else and ends up in Miami, or you can be like, I want to go across the country. So you can do ones that go from New York or LA back around and it goes down the East Coast around the South. There's so many to choose from, ranging from I think 3 days up until their monster, which is the lower 48 dream trip, which is 80 days, I believe, 70 to 80 days, something like that. Which, yes, by the name lower 48 means you go to every state in Maine, so Maine America. And if I did that, because I've already been to Alaska and Hawaii, it would mean that I've been to every state in America, which is a cool thing to have, I think this would be a cool thing to be able to say. So that is why it's like my dream trip. Slightly annoyed because I'd already done their biggest trip, which is Trailblaze, which is 64 days, which is where a lot of this information is going to come from and things that I've learned, because when I was going on that trip, obviously you're going for 64 days, I was like, what do you take? What do you do? What do your tour leaders like? What luggage do I need? What should I put in my luggage? You know, all of this kind of stuff just like rattled around in your head. You end up getting there and it's like, So I just think if you're going on a Trek America trip or even a Kentucky trip or something along these lines, I think that these hints and tips will help, especially if it's your first one. Especially if you spent a lot of money on these trips, which they can be expensive, worth it, but expensive, and you're just worried about not taking something or not doing something, and that is having a bearing on the trip that you're doing. So here are my hints and tips, and I did make notes because my brain gets easily distracted, and I figured, one, I need a system, and two, I will end up forgetting stuff. So if you see me flicking through this, just know that that's okay. One, and I guess it's a biggie, is luggage. And luggage includes what you put in the bag as well as the bag itself. Now for my Trailblazer, I took one of those massive backpacks that's like the size of you, which, to be fair, for the amount of different camping sites that you go on, so you can have lovely ones which are all paved, which are great for rolling, but then you have some which are up hills. Santa Fe, I'm looking at you, which is desert and awful. And it's like, oh, okay, so that's where this comes in handy, you can just put it on. But it is so impractical. Most of your clothes get really, really creased. They will anyway, but it's just worse. It's like Godzilla chewed it up in his mouth and spat it out. It's like, there you go. No, it's awful. And most of your clothes, you forget are stuck at the bottom, and you have to take everything out, and then you have to shove it all back in, and by the end of it, you just start shoving shit in. Don't take a big rucksack thing. I think that's probably my biggest regret. And then I did my technically third trip last year, which was to Hawaii. Do that trip. Which I took like one of the big lightweight pull suitcases. I thought, that'll do. I thought, this is great, and then I can just wheel it around and it'll be wonderful. And I went out to carry shit, and then where do we end up? On a beach. And try dragging a 20 kilogram case across a beach, and the sand is piling up You just get pissed off because it is so freaking hot and you've been traveling all day and you didn't even know he was going to get your suitcase because Hawaiian Airlines decided to lose it, but that is a different story. And then you can't pick it up because it is so heavy, so you're like waddling across the beach and you're near the big girl that's waddling across the beach with her fucking bag, and then you chuck it in your tent because you're pissed off, and then the whole of the beach gets put into your tent. So if you're going to take a rolly case, which I think is probably the best thing to do, make sure it's a smallish one, because that means you won't be able to pack a lot into it, and that means it'll be lighter. So if you are on campsites which are not the best terrain-wise, you are not spending most of your time dragging and getting sweaty and horrible and then getting into a really hot tent. So smaller case, less stuff in it. And the stuff in it, oh my god. If you're going on a big trip, do not put in that fancy dress or that fancy shirt, or like, you know, because you just won't end up wearing it. I would say if you're doing one of the bigger trips, take a look and read through your itinerary and see this is probably where we're gonna go out and where I want to wear something nice, and just take one nice thing. The rest of it, most campsites have washing rooms and drying rooms, and you can, honestly, they're okay. So you just take your stuff, you'll buy washing stuff with your food kitty, so take that and use those facilities that you have. So honestly, you take more pants than you actually require, but pants and your knickers, in case Americans are watching, undergarments. From packing light, taking a small case, you should, I would say, be able to carry it fairly easily. Because that means it doesn't matter if it's the ground's rocky or if it's sand. You can just pick it up and it's fine, and you can lift it into your tent rather than dragging it in and potentially damaging your tent. So that's luggage. Done. Number 2. These are in no particular order, by the way. It's just how my brain just kind of thought of them as I was sat there like writing. What else? Number 2. Charging stuff. Now, depending on your tour leader, they may or may not have more than one charging thing in the van. And most campsites, you think you get there and there'll be like charging points, and there is, but you're not always lucky enough that those charging points will be right next to your tent. And let's face it, you don't want to leave our valuables in random places. And sure, you might want to sit there and do that, but just what you need is, you know, the little, I wish I had one, they're little like this, like bullet shapes, and they have the slots in the top and you put them into cigarette chargers. Those. Take one of those. Everyone might have one, and the tour leader may have a whole bunch, but they can break really easily, and the last thing you want is to have the least amount of charging points possible. Especially when you're on long van days, like 8-hour van days, and I will get onto 8-hour van days later, and yes, that is a thing. Because everyone wants to charge their stuff. So you just have as many of those as possible, and if you have a spare one, honestly, you'll be amazing. I think the second thing, and I shouldn't really have to say this, but is if you've brought your iPad and you've brought your phone and you have your camera, don't be charging all 3 at once in the van. Just don't do that. Like, people try to, and it just ends up causing arguments. That and Wi-Fi, which again I'll get on to in a second, causes arguments. So honestly, if you have lots of stuff that needs charging, prioritise what you want to charge. Charge one at a time, and sure, if there's nobody else charging, then go ahead. But there are that sitting at the back of the van and Wi-Fi. They're just like little things, especially when you're with these people 24/7, which you generally are. You know, little things just start big arguments, and it's pointless. Wi-Fi. Your van comes with Wi-Fi. The Czech American vans. But they are, 1, they're limited data, and 2, they're really strong depending on where you are. So like if you're in the countryside, your data on your phone isn't going to be very strong because the signal isn't very strong. And that's similar with this. And I would say that 90% of the time we had a fairly decent signal. But again, if you're streaming videos, that's obviously going to drain down the data, and then you have to wait until whenever that data redoes itself in order to do it. So just be sensible with it in the van. We split it sometimes, so like long days we would have an hour for certain people, and everyone would turn the Wi-Fi off. Just be mindful of Wi-Fi. It is a luxury, and trust me, your tour leader will get pissed off by the amount of times you say, "Does the campsite have Wi-Fi, but just keep with it. Just keep going with it. Eventually they will learn just to say, yes, this campsite has Wi-Fi. Yes, it does, okay? And if you have data for whatever reason, if you brought it, or if you are, or if you live in the States and therefore you have data on your phone, you are like the kid who would open a packet of chewing gum in school and everyone just flocks at you. Honestly, you are that person. Okay. 3. We're on 3. 3. Band-aids. Band-aids. Band-aids are a thing. Just be prepared that some days you are literally going to be in the van for the entire day. And these are Band-aids, which sound awful. They do sound awful, but there is just a few things that you can do in order to embrace them. One is just embrace it. Embrace the fact that you're going to be in the van for an awfully long time. Take your pillow, get comfortable. Accept the fact that your neighbour Rooney, who is sitting here, is most likely going to use you as a pillow and a mattress to sleep on. If you were lucky enough to get a window, everyone is just going to pile against you to sleep. If you are the lucky bastard that gets to sit in the front, whoo, you is lucky. You is so lucky because you have all the room and aircon just on you. And I would probably say, especially if it's hot, especially if it is hot, we never did this, but I think it would have caused a lot less arguments, is to split the back seats. If you're on an 8-hour van day and it is hot, the back of the van is like Mordor. It's you sit down and then it's just like pouring of sweat because it is just so hot. And the stupid design of the van means that the aircon doesn't quite get to you, so you just end up getting really, really hot, really, really irritable, and really uncomfortable. And then you're sat there thinking, I've got 8 hours of this shit. So I'd say probably split it. But they will try and split it up for you, and they might take you to random places. Where is it? Where the heck is something? I'll Google it. Waldrug. Where the heck is Waldrug? That is what I was Googling. This was on one of our trek days. We went there. Van days, I should say. Waldrug is in South Dakota, and it is a giant ass shopping mall thing. It's generally in the middle of nowhere. That was one of the better places we got taken to by Ben, our tour leader. But if your tour leader says, yeah, so I've got a surprise for you, and if you're in and around North South Dakota kind of area, and it's like, yeah, I've got a surprise, just gonna take you somewhere, and then he whispers to you, we're going to the Corn Palace, and you're like, what the fuck is the Corn Palace? Just accept it. Just embrace. Just embrace it. And yes, it is probably not what you think it is. It is the weirdest place I've ever been in my life, but just embrace it for what it is. It means you're out of van, and by that time you really, really want to be out of that van. 4. Hiking. Yes, hiking. There's one thing that surprised me on the first trip. Trek America loves a national park, and I'm saying this in a really sarcastic way, but honestly the best way to see it is by walking it. So be prepared. Take sensible shoes. You don't necessarily have to take big clunky walking shoes, just sensible, solid trainers. And if you're going to take trainers, the most likelihood is that they're probably going to get ruined. So don't spend a lot of money. If you have walking boots and stuff, great, take them. But back to the luggage thing, they will take up a lot of room. So have a read through how many national parks you're going to be going to, and if there's a fair few, and if you're doing one of the big trips, it is probably better to take walking shoes. And socks and stuff. But if you're not, and you're doing a smaller trip and there's only 1 or 2 national parks you're going to, honestly, just a good solid pair of trainers, even stuff you might take to the gym and stuff like that, just so your ankles and stuff are supported, because some of the trails you go on are fairly in terms of being prepared, most of the trips take place over summer. Anyone that knows America knows that most of it gets pretty hot over the summer, so take a water bottle, water container, refillable. You don't want to be using lots of plastic bottles because it will just piss people off. You are ruining the environment and using plastic bottles. Plus, it is much easier to have like an insulated water container you can fill up and take with you. If you can invest in a camel bag, I'll probably say that is a good idea. If you don't know what a camel bag is, essentially it is a backpack that has a water thing in it, so you fill that up before you go, and then it has a hose that comes out and down onto the straps, so as you're walking you can just drink and walk at the same time. Generally happens is that if you're going on a hiking day, your tour leader will be like, these are the hikes they're doing, these are your options, or this is the hike we are doing, and they will tell you how long it is, what the weather is potentially going to be like that day. So just speak to your tour leader about, do I need more than this water? What else should I take? So even if you take a couple of bottles of water with you just to fill your camel bag back up as you're doing it. Honestly, the worst thing is to be caught with no water. The most important thing is just be prepared. Listen to what your tour leader tells you, because they have most likely done these hikes before, so they will know how strenuous it is, how much stuff you're going to need to take, how long it's going to take. And if they're telling you, yes, you need to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning to do a Grand Canyon trek, you need to do it. I didn't do that one, but yeah. If you're gonna, it's the one that goes right to the bottom. Be prepared for the switchbacks on the way up. I've heard stories about those switchbacks that will make people want to cry. Boom! 5. Sleeping bag. You have to take your own sleeping bag, unless you forget. Well, it's me. I just think with sleeping bags, and the reason I put it in here is that often people were grouchy or not, depending on the sleeping bag that they had, because it depended on how good a sleep that they got. And I would just say, look at the time of year you're going, and look at the kind of places that you're going. Whether, if it's going to be really, really hot, you obviously don't just want to pick up a sleeping bag and whether that'll do, and it's like 4 or 5 seasons where it's just like super thick and you're just going to be sweating your butt off. And I think what most people do, is at least what I've done, is I've left my sleeping bags at the last hotel that we stopped in before I flew home. I haven't brought it home. 1, space. 2, can't be bothered to carry it. 3, didn't think I needed it anymore. So just bear that in mind, is that you might not want to bring it back. It might be ruined, it might be ripped, it might just be gross. Yeah, so think about that before you buy it. So don't go buying a really, really expensive one if you're not going to be bringing it back. Look at the seasons, look at where you're going. Just think about it. Just don't have it as like a offhand kind of thing, because I think that's what a lot of people do and end up regretting it. 6. Walmart. Walmart become your best friend and your worst enemy. You will spend a lot of time in Walmart, essentially because I think it's very, very cheap. And I think it's £15 now you put into your food kitty, so I should explain food kitty. I'll put it here, I should put an explanation. I'll put an explanation on the screen. What food kitty is, what food kitty means. But you will spend that at Walmart. Now, it will either be that you will have groups, and groups will cook in turn, and therefore you go in and you buy the stuff, or your tour leader is like, I once had someone feed me beans on toast off an 8-hour fan day, and that's made me cook every time. Oops. FYI, don't feed your tour leaders beans on toast, especially if they're American. They don't understand what it is. So, and they will refuse that it is actually a meal. So Walmart, you will go into a lot of them, and what you'll find is they are genuinely a carbon copy of each other. You kind of get overwhelmed when you go in, and you only ever have a limited amount of time, and nothing pisses a tour leader off more is that when people are back late. So, and you don't want to be spending your holiday in Walmart either. So just prepare. Know what you want, get in, get out. Like, for instance, if you're like, I really want a Subway, but I also need to get like lotion and blah 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 blah. You're probably not going to have time to do both, so figure out what you actually need. Do you need a Subway? Know what you want, go in, get out, done. 7, tour leaders. So I've had 3 tour leaders. Were you doing 4 trips, darling? Yes, I did. But that is because I've had the same tour leader twice. I don't know how often this happens, if I'm being perfectly honest. But I've had Ben twice. I had Ben first half, the second half, on my Trailblazer, and then in Hawaii. Really lucky because we got on really, really well. Ben's great, despite pranking him a lot. But that doesn't matter. Ben's great. But tour leaders, honestly, honestly, wow, they work so hard. If, you know, they will do the van days and then they will finish and they will go into the van and then they will sort the food kitty and make sure that that all adds up correctly. They'll be thinking, okay, next day, what do I need to do? They will be planning things days in advance. Honestly, they work so hard, so please just respect that. And, you know, if they've got a day where they can enjoy themselves and have fun, then they will, and they will join in and it'll be great. But just don't underappreciate your tour leaders. Don't be mean to them. Be kind to them. Give them time to just chill out on their own if that's what they want to do and that's what they need to do after a long day. Don't feed them beans on toast. I think I've said that once before, but I just think that needs to be said again. Don't feed them beans on toast. And yes, tip them well at the end. They deserve it. Definitely deserve it. I'm not going to number the next few ones because they're just like points that I thought of off the top of my head. And the first one is that, and I think it's one that I've learned over time, is don't be afraid to say no. Don't be afraid to be that one person in the group that's like, I'm not really into that. And there's a couple of examples. You have extras that you can pay for on your trips. In Hawaii, the guys were going down. So in Hawaii, you've got valleys in the Big Island, and they're like this to get down, and you have to walk back up because only certain people are allowed to drive in. And I was like, I'm not doing that walk back up that hill. So everyone else went down and I was like, no, and like the tour leader was like, that's fine, and just I went round the little town that was kind of near it, and we ended up meeting back at the town, and it was really nice. I got to go into a few little Hawaiian shops. I met some beautiful, lovely Hawaiian people, and I got to just sit and have a drink and have a read of a book that I brought whilst I was there, and it was lovely. It was lovely. So don't be afraid to say no. It's a funny story. My camera just turned off. Apparently there's only a certain amount of film that you can do, so I know that for next time. And it also means that I filmed way too much. So what I got interrupted saying was, don't be afraid to say no, enjoy it, enjoy yourselves. It does end. It ends, and that's horrible, and it's weird. You end up being in this like really weird bubble. Czech just kind of puts you in, and it's something that I'm still friends with some of the guys from the first trip, and it's you forget that the real world exists, but it does, and it's horrible because you've got to go back to all that boring shit that you did before, and you realise that normal life is so boring, and it's not normal to eat s'mores every day as part of a healthy, balanced diet, and nobody will have the emotional attachment to Toto's Africa as you do. Honestly, it's been 4 years and I still hear that song and I'm like, oh, I remember those good times. Nothing will you prepare you for that. And music is a big thing. Music, I don't know, every trip seems to have a song, but anyway, I think there's a way to end this. There's a way to end this, like, tips is to just say that Trek America trips are what you make of them. Absolutely. There are things that make it easier, there are fun and about, but the most important thing is that you need to enjoy it for yourself. You need to embrace what you want to and do what you want to, and then all that starts with just doing a bit of research before you go, and then making sure that the trip you're on is the trip for you. If you enjoy national parks a bit more, then I'll probably say Coast to Coast North is more your thing. If you're more like, I want to go out and have a good time, probably at the Atlantic Dream is you do Nashville and Memphis, and you end up in Miami. So if it's more cities and stuff, then that's the thing for you. So, you know, as I said before, they're not expensive in that they're overpriced, they're expensive in that, but it's just kind of the nature of what you do. So just make sure you make the right decision on the trip first. If you want to follow my tips, you can. I would say do follow my tips, and at the end of the day you will come out of it and you will have the greatest time of your life. So I suppose thank you for watching this. I hope you found this useful, and if you are going on a trip, Please enjoy yourself, have the best time in the world. Comment down below where you're going if you have one booked or if you've been one in the past. And let's share experiences. If you have had Chad, Ben or Subes as your tour leader, let me know in the description, what's it below? In the description box below I will put Trek America's webpage so you can go there, have a browse around, see if it's something that takes your fancy. And that is it. Hopefully my next Trek America video will be a vlog of me going to the west coast of America for Christmas and New Year. So thank you for watching, and see you next time. Thank you for existing. Bye!